think we're live. What a great riff. As I'm sure you heard, Rick Derringer passed away this week. Such a bummer. Probably one of his most famous solos was the guitar solo to Eat It by Weird Al, which was quite a hit. You know, it was a spoof of Michael Jackson's Beat It. It was his first, like, I think, kind of mega hit. It was Eat It. And Rick Derringer was the guy who ripped that killer solo on Eat It. And, yeah. Also wrote Hang on Sloopy. I don't know if you've ever seen the video, but that's quite a bod on Sloopy. It's a pretty nice rack there. Oh. All right. Oh, who do we have? We got Curtis, Wendell, James, Nelson. What's up? We got Rod. We got W.J. Cooper, Rock and Rob, Yeti Motzi, Rico B. Trolls, Ian, Michael, Johnny, Music Sound Gear, Frank C. We got Richard. Got Speaker. What's up, buddy? Got Eric. Matt. Double R guitar. Ian, Johnny, Rock and Rob. No, you're Schmoopy. That's the whole thing about the HSS, you know, you get that sudden burst of humbucker. But you're never far away from Hendrix land. They play all the chords. Still sounds pretty good for as a Strat. What's up, Deanna and John and Rod and P20. Gonna stay in tune after some deep side. I think we'll try it out right now. It might not because the strings are so new, but we'll see. Close. But better when you pull it back up because you're see now it's almost back. Because whatever you lose, you can pull it back a little bit. was the scale of the recent flip-flop acoustic? You know, I don't know. If I had a guess, I'm going to say 25 and a half. And would that what most acoustics are? What else we got here? Shelby, musical companion, Wendell, Zach, JMT, they happen to catch ACDC at Fractal? No. And you, oh God, I thought there was extra. I was like, this is my windscreen came off. Like that does not sound right. I'm trying to remember. There's somebody there tonight, some big act. That's when you stay the hell away. You know, Gillette's only about 20 minutes from here. I think it's Jelly Roll and yeah, Maiden is coming next week. Yeah. God, I saw Maiden in 83 and I want to say 85 or 86. First time in the Cape Cod Coliseum, which is a tiny venue. That was on the Peace of Mind tour. And then I saw him, I think, on Power Slave. And that was out in Worcester. Black Dog, you gotta be careful with that one. I don't know if I can play Black Dog. Some of the tunes are attract attention. Oh, we see you're playing a cover, so we're going to now share revenue with you. Really? On a 2-hour video, I play 15 seconds? Yeah. Yeah, we're taking like half. Like, okay. The thing is, if you fight it and you lose, that counts as a copyright strike for, like, annoying them. Gotta be careful. The other one that's bad is Cheap Trick. And of course the Eagles. But usually Van Halen's pretty good. I don't really get hit with that unless I use a backing track that sounds like Van Halen. Ozzy. I play a lot of Ozzy riffs and I never hear shit. You know? Play it backwards. I actually took a tune that I pulled off of, I had a license for it. But I pulled it off of, oh God, what were they called? They changed their name a couple of times. It was basically a giant clip site. You could go and get clips. And they had templates too. It was actually pretty good. And they had a whole bunch of audio clips. And they gave me this like 2-year unlimited like mega subscription. And then I wound up not doing the video because they gave me a script and I said, I'm not reading this shit. And they were like, oh, well, maybe you can come up with your own script. But by then they had lost me. I was like, oh no, this is just going to be a big fight. You're going to be like, well, send us a video so we can review it before you publish it. And I'm not doing that either. So I can already see that this is going nowhere. So I never made the video. And audio blocks, story blocks, it was like audio blocks, became like video blocks, became like story blocks, which combined audio and video. It was all over the place. But they had a tune on there that I ripped down, and I used it, and I got copyright flagged for it, and I had to go through the process. Says, no, I have a license, and I have a license because I bought it through Audio Blocks, and I have a perpetual license that doesn't expire, even if my subscription had not expired at that point. But so even if my subscription expires, I'm allowed to use it. It's perpetual for anything I download. And they agreed. And they knocked it out. So when I went to use it again, I cut it down to like 70% speed, which lowered it in pitch. They still flagged it. Pitch change meant nothing. They knew it. Oh, I see you're still using that song. Oh, that's good. Does it have noiseless pickups? It does. Right there. The only time it's not noiseless is when you cut the humbucker. Right there. There you go. But you gotta remember, I'm right in front of a computer. And computers give off a shit ton of EMFs. Probably. Probably, Michael. Probably. That's with the neck in the middle. Then you kick the humbucker in. That's actually a new patch. I think that's what the doubler on, yeah. That's in doubly. But it's based on that, is it? Yeah, it's new it's new preset number 112. You know, that old chestnut. So it has a lot of the same. It doesn't sound right though. Sure. Little octave pedal there. They have to set up the Floyd at all? No. It was set up pretty good. The only thing you got to do is you do have to break the strings in for a little bit. You know, before you get going. I tried the new Tonex EVH pack. A few people have asked me that. I have not. But I don't have Tonex. It'd have to be... Do they have a player? I'd have to play it in the player, Tonex player. Yeah, this is the doubler. I think it sounds pretty good. I don't know if I could listen to it all the time, but sometimes when I turn it off, you kind of miss it. What's up, Quentin? Isn't that one of the demos on Tonex? Right? Am I wrong? You'll close your eyes, but I don't think I know that one. You know, I'm probably just gonna noodle. Why take a chance? Right? You adjust the Floyd Rose with the truss rod there. Oh yeah. Yeah, you could. But I'd use a longer one. Right? Right, so you don't have to try and get it around this corner. I'd bring it in out here. I'd bring it in out here and bring it in that way. Use I've got some that are the same length, right? It's a same on each edge instead of a short edge and a long edge on the Allen wrenches. You might be able to get a little Allen in there. Depends. Have to be on the stubbier side. I think a medium might be almost, you might run into the bar. So I think you have to go either with a long one or a stubby. They've been pretty good too. So did you see that they're updating the Kemper? And I think from what I've seen out there, it's a bit of a harumph. That it's going to be lighter, but I don't think it's the giant, like, I think people were like, it's been so long since you've updated the, except through software, firmware upgrades. It's been so long since you've updated the hardware. We're expecting, like, I mean, that product came out in 2011. That's 14 years ago, right? A lot can happen in 14 years. Think about the phones from 14 years ago. Computers from 14 years ago, right? So I think people are expecting it's going to be like, AI-assisted profiling. It's going to, like, blow everything away on the market. And it's not that big of an increase, I think, in power. And I don't know much about Kemper. I've never owned a Kemper. But from what I've seen, it's a bit of a controversy. As the rabid Kemper fans who have been on the edge of their seats for so long, waiting for a new one. Probably, definitely for the last 5 years. I'm sure 9 years in, they're like, okay, let's do a hardware upgrade. You know who came out the same year as Kemper? Fractal Axe-Fx. Right? Both companies incorporated in 2006. Kemper brought their product to market in 2011. I think Axe-Fx was earlier. Their first product might have come out in like 2008 or 9. I think they were first to market. But just think about how many iterations that their main competitor, which to me is Fractal Axe-Fx, right, in terms of like a hardware-based modeling system. And Axe-Fx is on their third model, and they've done a bunch of iterations, and they have, steadily increased their power. In fact, if you look at the power from the first one to the current one, it's a massive increase. So I think the Kemper people were like, oh boy, we're going to be getting this crazy increase. It's probably going to be AI. It's probably going to be incredible. I can imagine it's going to be like an incredible touch color screen, with, 144 hertz animations. Let's dream big. And it comes out, and it kind of looks like the old Kemper. It's a little smaller. It's a little lighter. It's a modest increase in power. And people are like, we waited this long for this? So we'll see what happens. But you're finding out really quickly that electronics is hard. It's a hard industry to be in. People will expect big changes. They get it from their phones. They get it from computers. They get it from... I just look back at those handheld gaming units just even 3 or 4 years ago. A massive change. They're so much more powerful now. So, there was an expectation out there, I think, that it was going to be like, woo, it's going to be unbelievable. You wait. The thing's going to be playing the goddamn guitar for you. And it came out. Like, oh no. What? So we'll see, but you have something out there like, Tone X, who has, seemingly a pretty good profiling model, right? Profiling environment. They seem to be sucking up a lot of air, and they're also very inexpensive. And then there's that new one, the Valatin. That sort of burst onto the market this week. Everyone's talking about that new Valatin little, it basically looks like a tiny, ditto pedal. But it's stereo in and outs. Nice. I like that. It can connect through computer or over Bluetooth to manage it, and it has a ton of parameters. Just like that other unit I recently had here, there's a lot more parameters over Bluetooth than there are through the interface. The interface can only do so much, but the Bluetooth can do everything. So it is NAM, right? That was that neural amp modeling or whatever, that open source. It's like NAM compatible, plus it has its own stuff as well. You can load IRs into it, like real IRs, cab IRs. And the thing's like $89. That's what I like to see. That's shifting the paradigm. Coming up with these low-cost, modeling systems that are stereo in and out, and $90. Imagine if they made one that was, twice that price. How amazing it could be, right? So that's what I like to see. I like to see like a massive shift in what's available for how much money. Well, we'll see. Yeah, they've been stuck on the XFX 3 for a while, but you watch, they'll come out with an XFX 4. Just a matter of time. They seem to be a little bit more on top of it. The other one that's sort of been pretty much since its opening volley, and I want to say that was either NAMM, I don't think it was NAMM 2014. I thought they announced it at NAMM 2015, but that's the Helix. The Helix has been out now for 10 years. These companies, they want them to be like video games. And video games used to have a 10-year window. If you came out with a new video game console, you were not going to announce your another video game console for another 10 years. But then even that shortened because the competition, right? They were facing PCs that were getting increasingly more powerful and had better video cards. And they had things like Steam OS come out and Steam Decks, right? So they're getting all this pressure, and they're like, oh, well, maybe we have to pull our system up maybe sooner, right? Because you're getting competition and pressure. So we'll see. But as long as Kemper doesn't start releasing dongles to get features, oh, God, please. Musical Companion says, I have Tone X1 and an Amplitude Max 5 Suite. It's okay, I guess, for the collection of 2x2 combos, yeah. I've played through the Helix one here. We've tried it a bunch of times. We always thumb it down, right? Every time I say I'm going to go and play through this and check it out, you guys are like, it doesn't really sound that good. And we go running back to THU. Every time I play another product, you're like, oh, it doesn't sound right tonight. I say, well, we're using a different product. Yeah, it doesn't sound as good. Or maybe it just sounds unfamiliar. It's hard to know. But I rarely go to another product and you're like, wow, I don't know what you're playing through tonight, but that sounds amazing. That sounds unbelievable. That doesn't seem to happen. It's more like when I just stick with THU and I move around in THU, like I have the doubler on. I think that sounds pretty good, Yeah, I wouldn't mind checking out one of those Valentins. I might have to order one up off of the Amazon, because I am actually set up here for stereo. That's how I was able to record that Donner and bring it in stereo. So there is a chance I could run into it just straight with my guitar, and then straight out of that Valentin right into the rig in stereo with two discrete channels, and we could check out, you know, how that sounds. And if it's using those NAMM models, I bet it sounds pretty damn good. I'm just throwing that out there. Probably going to sound pretty good. You'd be surprised at what, you know, open source can do. You get enough people working on it. It's 1,000 monkeys and 1,000 typewriters. Soon, they will write the world's greatest novel. You guys catch the that story about Rich Fortus, guitar player for Guns N' Roses, was out on stage in I want to say Dubai, Saudi Arabia. It was some Middle Eastern country, and it's very hot, and he was in the sun. Let me see if I can find this. And his pickups melted. It's like, what? What? Guitars. I could have sworn I saw that story. No? Ugh. Man, nothing. Ugh, into the ass. Is it U.S.? I think it's U.S. Yeah. Oh God, they're making me work. Yeah, there it is. Guitar.com has it, and Music Radar had it. God, that's where I was just on, and they can't even. Their friggin' site sucks so bad. They've really destroyed that friggin' website. Anyway, so hot in Saudi Arabia, his pickups melted. Guitar.com had it. Yeah. The wax. Yeah, that's the wax coming out of his pickups. He flew too high to the sun and melted the wax in his pickups. Absolutely. See, at first I thought it was the plastic. No, that makes sense. That's wax. Gonna have to get him repotted. The hot plot. Yeah, that's wax. That's the wax coming out of his pickups. Streaming out. Nice. Yeah, it's probably a combination. So they use beeswax, but beeswax has I think a lower melting point, and paraffin, I forget now. One of them has like a higher point, so they do a mix of beeswax and paraffin. But obviously it was hot enough there, especially in the sun. Absolutely, I could totally see that happening. You know, it wasn't from his playing. Have you ever seen Richard Fortus play? That dude's a pretty good guitar player. You would have to be like the world's greatest guitar player to look at him and say he's not that great. He might not have to do a lot in that band because that's what it's not required of the job. But no, Richard Fortus is a really good guitar player. Exactly the Icarus line of pickups. Yeah, Fortus has got a bunch of country riffs, too, that are pretty tricky. He's got a lot of double stop shit. He's good. No, he's good. He is good. What is it? It's, it's probably like, I'd have to think about that. Yeah, right? Tequila. You guys see the Peewee documentary? It's like 2 90-minute. It's like 3 hours long. It is a deep dive, and they don't stray away from anything. I thought it was very well done. I thought the director did a really good job. Yeah. We did that song in Berkeley. All I had to do was there was a trumpet player. So that's an F Mixolydian, which is B flat major. Which is good for a horn player. And then G. Tequila. Pee-wee Herman is not still kicking. He died 2 years ago. You serious? They shot the footage before he died, which he kept to himself. Yeah, I saw Loretta Swit died too. You know, yeah, he's now with who else passed on that show? Well, most famously, he was murdered. what's his name there? You know that guy who played the captain and was on SNL for years. Taylor Swift got her master recordings back after demonetizing them. Good for her. Phil Hartman, thank you. He was a longtime writer for Pee-wee's Playhouse and that whole thing. You know, he was always on, and he was a writer on the movie. In fact, he might have been the #1 build writer. You know, Phil Hartman. The funny thing is that the second movie, you know, was such a flop, and because it was called Big Top Peewee, you know, the headlines sort of wrote themselves. Big flop Peewee. And so he couldn't catch a break with that movie, and it was a bad movie. You know, no, Phil Hartman was murdered. Never forget that. Murdered. Shot to death. Yeah, it was his wife. Would I be playing with himself in the theater? You know what? They denied that. They said, no, that part was made up. They said he was in the theater, but they made the part up about him playing with himself because they wanted to arrest him. And that he denied from day one. That was not true. I was not exposing myself. And that was just made up bullshit. And then there was another one that definitely looked more like there was a new DA who was in there and looking to do something, and they literally came up with nothing. They did this big raid. They went through all his stuff, and there was really nothing. They had to basically come up with some misdemeanor charge to end the case, because just to allow the prosecutor to save face, because there was nothing there. So it was really. Have a Texas TL just had bad buzz sound, aluminum pickguard. Anything to do with it? You know, that's a good question. I'm not sure. I'm trying to remember if I had an aluminum one and if I had a buzzing sound too. You know, you got to remember, I run some LEDs here that definitely, and certainly the computer, gives off a ton of EMFs. If it's going to buzz, trust me, it's going to buzz. Yeah, plus, I'm running a giant fluorescent, you know, fill light. That gives off a ton of, you know, I mean, we have some radio noise in this room without a doubt. In fact, I had a friend come here one time and go, "This is literally the noisiest studio I've ever been in." I'm like, right? But I don't know. I'm trying to remember back. I did have that Ultra here, and the Ultra did have the aluminum, but I could have sworn they might have been all noiseless pickups, and so I don't think I was noticing it. It's a good question. I don't think so. Yeah, and he was Bill on News Radio. And he's Troy McClure. You may remember me from such films as... Now, such, when he was doing the he was doing the stuff for the educational material for school. He goes, you must remember me from such public service announcement says, lead, tasty but deadly. And here comes the metric system, which is so funny because the metric system we went through a whole thing about the goddamn metric system in the 70s. And man, it wasn't going for, it never showed up here at all. Metric system. It goes to show you how entrenched some things are. Yeah, I haven't seen the cats tonight. But my wife was out all day. And she's home now. So she's a bit of a cat magnet. They're going to want to hang out. I think those pickups sound good. I'll put that single coil on. Yeah, we've been on the metric system since 1879, but no one recognizes it or participates. Someone was asking about that aside. I think you can get to it, but you would probably either have to go you'd have to have a stubby, or you'd have to have one that's equally. You have to go in the long way. You know, down through there. But did you get it in there? Probably not. That's a little too long. I think you'd need a kind of a stubby. Yeah. No. I think you need a shorter one, right? What do they ship it with? They ship it with a long one. I knew it. What did I say? I said they do one. You know what? I don't want to take it out of the package and then I'm going to friggin' lose it. Let's go to package cam. See it? See that? You know how long it is? That's how you do it. That's what it's designed for. Right there. Right there. See how long it is for it to get under and get in there? Yeah. Get in there. And that's how you eat a turkey. Decked or floating? Floating. I don't think you can have a decked Floyd and not send all the rest of it out if you're adjusting the fine tuning on the saddle, because the bottom of the fine tuner, there's a clip, and that clip hits the face of the guitar and pushes the whole bridge forward. All right, so there's that. That's why I think they went to the recessed, because they needed it floating. I mean, that sounds... mostly in tune. Yeah, like a blocked Floyd. Nah. It's going to be more stable, and if you really bring the springs down, you could even maybe you would overcome the blowback of a broken string. You can't have a floating Floyd and break a string. The whole guitar goes completely out of tune. You take the guitar off and switch it to another guitar. I've had it happen. I was with, I think I was with Speaker, and we were playing at the Beachcomber, and it was pretty much like the second song in, and wham, I snapped a string, but I had another guitar right there ready to go, and I just whipped off the guitar I had, threw on the backup, and played the rest of the show with the backup. Because there's pretty much no change in the string. And I almost shit. I was like, oh my God, I just broke, I think it was the D string or the A string. I was like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. Yeah, no cats. Like I said, my wife's been out all day and she's home now. We might see them, but I also have the window closed. It got muggy and rainy. So once the dew point nudges above 50, I'm out. And what is it right now? It's probably 55. Oh, it's dropping 52. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Might be able to open a window up in an hour. Would I buy this guitar? I would. I like, first of all, I like a Floyd Rose. The only thing is, I tell you what would hold me off. First of all, I like the sounds of the pickups. Because they are way more Fendery than, I say, what you get out of a Charvel. But I think, they're around the same money. I might be more inclined just to go with Charvel, skip the pickguard, go full San Dimas. Same thing, single, double, right? A California setup, Floyd Rose. But, with a solid color paint job and almost certainly either a maple or an ebony fretboard. I don't think they really do a lot of rosewood with the Charvels. It's usually one or the other, ebony or maple. And I might be more inclined to do that. That's why this is a modified, because it's sort of like a vintage guitar with a modern appointment, which is the Floyd Rose and the humbucker. So it's modified, brah. How did I break a wound string. Yeah, I don't know. It could have just been that, you know, I had been using the bar a lot. It broke at the bridge. I remember it. Looking down, going, ah, shit. Oh no. Oh. So could have been a lot of dive bombing. Used to dive bomb a lot back then. Is that what it is? We used to do that. Yeah, that's a little workout for you. Yeah, get the bow out, right? I think I broke the bow. I think the bow's gone. Thoughts about Fender Mod Shop guitars? I see them out there. Here's the thing: that image is you're never gonna really know what it looks like until you get it. And you can tell when you see some of them up for sale on Guitar Center Used, the disappointment was real. They got the guitar, they're like, I don't like it. Yeah, no, sorry, no. And so they show up on Guitar Center Used. You see them, special mod ones. Not a ton of them, but you see enough of them up there. You know, there's always one or two come out of the mod shop, and with questionable combinations, I might add. On paper, it sounded amazing, but when they built it, I was like, huh. All right, let's go down to Guitar Center and trade it in. I feel like I'm slightly out, though. It's a pet peeve. Not gonna lie. Let's just check it. If we only had a tuner. That's actually pretty good. That's actually pretty good, too. That's a tiny bit flat. Which should make sense, because it's the G string, and, you know, I do tug the G string quite a bit. Not gonna lie. Just grab the G string, give it a good tug. That's pretty good right there. Yeah. Same with carbons and Kiesels. Yeah. That is always the danger in ordering a guitar. You know, they got to mock it up, but it's still a mock-up. You don't know exactly what it's going to look like when you get it. That's why, believe it or not, I like to buy either new from a place that shows you the guitar. Sweetwater's really good at that. Go into a store and just buy the guitar. You know, Guitar Center or your local place. Or I buy used. Because the guitar is the guitar is the guitar. That's it. They're not shipping you one in a separate box. That's the guitar. So no surprises. All right. It's like I want the guitar, but I didn't realize it had a giant, light streak down the middle of the ebony. I'm not crazy about that, right? Or I bought a Gibson SG and it has a really light colored fretboard. I'm like, I was hoping for a darker fretboard. It doesn't change anything about it, just cosmetically. You wouldn't have bought it if you were in the store and you were looking at it, right? But now that you've already paid for it and it's already here, That's why it's a little bit better, if you can, to go with something where you see a picture of the actual product. I did watch a little bit of that Brad Paisley. The best is when he bought a refend telly because he wanted to turn it into a Paisley telly because they didn't make a ton of Paisley tellies. It wasn't a very good seller, and they only made a couple of hundred, maybe a few hundred. And so he said, I'll get it. And it was spray painted black. Definitely a refend. And he brought it to his guy, and he goes, I can't believe this. I'm taking the black paint off, and it is a Paisley telly. He's like, no way. So he has an original Paisley telly that someone had spray painted, with a rattle can out in the backyard, like black or flat black. And they were able to get all of the black off and get it back to its original, because it's is it a wallpaper? I forget now. It's a paper finish, I thought, covered in lacquer. And it was most likely, I think the top coat was an enamel. So I think they can use a certain solvent that won't hurt the lacquer but will remove that enamel. What's up, Bill? What the hell was that? A bit of a kaboom up there. Is it a printed foil? Yeah, it's some, it's not painted Paisley. It's like some sort of a, they'd use like wallpaper or, Ibanez used fabric, right? They had a drapery that they used. Figured it would last longer. Glue it onto the face and then, polyurethane over it. But I think the Paisleys were some sort of a foil or a paper, like you say. That's why the edges are, they paint them, right? Because you can see the edge. So it would always have a paint around the edge to blend and get rid of the seam. Really want a Fender Japan or a Tokai Pink Paisley. Well, I remember when those Japanese ones came out in the 90s. That was in the early 90s, like 92, 93, when those Paisley Tellys and the... was it a Paisley Strat or was it a Flower Strat? With, I forget now. I thought the Telly was Paisley, but the Strat was actually like flowers. I'd have to look at the pattern again. But the Telly was pink and the Strat was blue. And I remember when those came out, MIJ. I was like, man, that's cool. I can't believe it. Because there was, back in the day, very few made. And in fact, when it came to the Strat, they made the Tellys, there was only like one or two Strats. So your chances of owning one, though Jim Irsay passed away recently, he's got quite the collection of, he could open a museum. He's got like one of the most incredible collections of vintage instruments like in the world, played by famous players. The dude was on a tear. So we'll see what the estate does. But I could see it literally being turned into a museum. Yeah, blue flowers on the Strat, right? I'm pretty sure they were. It wasn't a Paisley. It was a different graphic. Yeah. Yeah, it's a... Got a new guitar of the week. I already shot the video. One of the earliest. Normally I would shoot that video like today or tomorrow, but I actually shot it 2 days ago. And I shot a little bit more of it yesterday. Was Thursday sick? You know, I don't know. If he was, I don't know much about the dude, to be honest. I bet that, if you lived in, he was the owner of the Colts, Indianapolis, Indy, right? How many Sunburst guitars do I own? Oh, geez, I'd have to think about that. 1, 2, 3. 4. 5. I think 5. I think 5, because the other ones they're not burst. They're even. Even if it has a transparent top, it's an even. It doesn't have a burst. It doesn't have a different color around the edge. I think 5. I think 5. How about an updated video on your rig you used to record your videos? Yeah, I could. I've been wanting to do another studio tour, but it's one thing after another. It's like speaker can vouch it. It's hard to walk around down here. It's goddamn narrow walkways as we get more and more crap out of here. Too much crap. Thanks, James. Thank you very much. How many guitars do I have altogether? Too many. Picking up a lot there. I think that's because this is on something. It's like this is almost like near something that's picking up. Also, I have those LED lights. I wonder if that would do a little something to... Let me look here. Do I have the gate completely off? No. No. I might just have this input a touch too high. Pretty good. Never rotate the ones you have hanging on the wall. I do all the time. The blue one, I mean, God, that was a white Les Paul for how long? Like 3 years. And this used to be an acoustic. This one here. It used to be God, that was an Epiphone acoustic for 5 years or something? 4 years? So, I just did a big rotation. Those ones back behind the amps, highly unlikely to ever be moved. I got no place to put that guitar other than right there. This one's nice and short, so it's above the amp. And then this one here, I just don't play all that much, so I put it in a place that's inconvenient. Because that's where I put guitars I don't play that much. I put them in inconvenient spots. The more convenient spots are the ones I play more. That is the Steel Panther Kramer. I don't play it much because I feel like every time I touch it, I wear the signatures off. I was on a tear selling guitars. You know, I was selling a bunch of guitars, and then all of a sudden I'm buying the Jackson and then the friggin' Kramer, and then I'm buying the Ibanez. It's like, as fast as they go out, they come back. Oh, Tony, look at you. Hey, Steve, been watching since the Pixie days. My bro and friends keep trying to do some YouTube live guitar playing. Show my gats that never added any goods before. He advice and scared of copyright issues. The bottom line is you won't really know. Stick with just non-commercial riffs as much as you can because you don't know how they're going to react. I found out the hard way about Cheap Trick. And I didn't even play the melody. I just played the chords. And they came in and I said I wasn't playing a melody. I was just playing the chords. And they still said... And I didn't go beyond that because... they were warning me, like, if I kept fighting it and kept bringing people in, then I was risking, not getting a copyright strike, not having a channel. So I was like, all right. And again, it'd be the early. I've never had a copyright strike, like a strike like that. The other thing I would say is, if you're going to do a live show, try to avoid radios. I feel like I I could never trust going over a wireless. I've never used wireless in all the time I've been streaming. I've always used a wired connection, Ethernet, to plug everything in. And I just feel like that is so much more stable. And even the slowest, friggin' Ethernet is a gigabit. So you'll get a way more solid connection than you will trying to go over Wi-Fi. So plugging in, I think, goes a long way. And when you start out, I would also try to do lower until you figure out what your bandwidth is. We pay to get a gigabit each way here, but you'll run into stoppages if you have like a 1080p and you just don't have the bandwidth to handle it. You'll always be spooling. You're better off just to go 720p, and that takes a while to figure out. And then the third thing is, the final thing maybe, is it's trickier than you would think to get all the audio summed up into one place. If I'm using my audio box here as my THU box, I would have to set up some sort of a loop back, which I don't do, because if the monitoring isn't set just right, you can get into a feedback loop, and a digital feedback loop can literally break the equipment. It's like, because it just whips out of control so fast. It's way worse than analog. So I would, what I do is I just have some external box and then just use that and sum it with the vocal mic. And that's what I'm doing here. In other words, I sum the vocal mic and the internal stuff, and then I run out to my motherboard in stereo, and then I tell OBS, look to the motherboard in and nothing else. And it just sort of like unifies everything, puts it all. I used to do it with 2 PCs, but I figured out I can do it with 1 PC and in 2 different audio cards. So it's harder than you think to get the audio to come out decent. If you want like a real stereo rig, is a bit of a pain in the ass. If you don't have something like that, like using an external, like if you had like an Axe-Fx, or if you had like a Kemper, or you had some sort of external unit, you could just run that. Now you're just all audio. There's no digital signal because that's handling all the processing. And you can just go in to your system and just say, this is a stereo track and this is a mono track and these are the 2 tracks I'm using, and just combine them in OBS. It gets real tricky when you're like, well, these channels in this one device are for this, and then you got to loop those back through like an output. It's way trickier than simply going in and going out, or going like I do. I go into one audio box and then out to another audio box for the recording. Oh, it's a pain in the ass, but once you get it going, it's done. Right? Once you got it, once it's set up, it's set up. All right, it's set up. Now, don't touch anything. Jesus Christ, get away from it. Don't touch it. Don't even look at it. I feel like oh, no wonder. I had it on single coil. Yeah, exactly. That's why I was like, why is there so much hum? What the hell is going on here? I had it in single coil mode. Well, thanks, Tony. Thanks, great advice. And a grunty PC is going to use the Helix when plugged in. Plumbing will be tricky, but good advice on the content issues. Yeah, I'd stay away from content until you're absolutely sure you're not going to have a problem with it. But that's all trial and error, unfortunately. But I've had good luck with Ozzy and Van Halen and probably most of the AC/DC. But when I had my friend over and we were doing the AC/DC, tune, I got totally flagged for that. You know, so it's not a. It just depends. Look at it. If THU will update to V2 for iOS, I don't think it'll do it unless you buy it. I don't. Unless you bought it in the THU in the last. I think you had to buy it in like the last year or the last 6 months or so. Is actually, I think it goes back to like February or January of 2024. I forget. You'd have to look up their terms. Then you can get it for free, but if you bought it any time before that, you have to pay. I think it's a $29 upgrade fee. I would go to THU for questions about THU. Yeah, the old Aldo Novo. Yeah. You can't really see it. My camera seems to be tilted slightly up this today. Strat. pretty good. They make a pearl white and they make a black. Now, when I asked for it, as they sometimes do to me, I ordered that midnight black one. That's the one I ordered. But they were like, hey, we don't have that one in stock. It won't be in for a few weeks, so we're sending you the Sunburst. And I never go back and go, oh, no, send me, wait, hold on. You know, they're like, we have the Sunburst, we're going to send you that. I'm like, okay, fine. Okay, sure. I'm not keeping it. What do I give a shit? Right? It's like, but I just thought that purple one there, that midnight one that just recently came out, they didn't have it, or they had them, but they were already sold. So they didn't have one for me. I said, okay. So I thought it was Nova, not Novo. Aldo Nova. You know. Did I play out at all? No, not really. I'll go over to a friend's house though and jam, do a little jamboree. Stupid thing. Oh yeah, there's nothing in there. Have the same neck profile as the Charvel Pro Mods? I think so. It's pretty slim. It does feel very similar, if not identical. Right? I mean, how many times are they going to retool? So I suspect they're similar. The Charvel, you wonder if it has a slightly flatter back. That might be the only real difference, where this is a little rounder. It is Nova, yeah. So it's pretty neat looking. What it could look on Flame Cam, yeah. Yeah, they had a purple, they had a white, and they had the Sunburst. And so I went with the purple just because I thought it would look interesting. And it was the only one with black plastics. The other ones, it had black pickguard with white pickup covers and white knobs. So it looked a little different, right, than this one and the pearl white one. You have to get the key in your head, and then you can start to get those, you know. I'll tell you, that does help. Singing along with it does help. It really does. Because then it's easier to anticipate the sound in your head before you play it. Right? Too chicken to play out? Well, you know, you could always start with just a live stream. Then there's no one in front of you. And you can always delete it. It's like it never even happened. I don't know. thoughts for someone in their late 50s with a quick level picking up playing? Well, it's hard. Biology is against you. It is harder to learn a musical instrument when you get older, so that's where the frustration comes in. It just is. You know, the bottom line is you just have to say, you have to set your expectations, because if you think you're going to sound, I've been playing guitar since 1972. That's 53 years. It's a long time to be playing guitar. And I started guitar when I was 6. So that puts me at a generally a great advantage over someone who starts it at age 60. Because you're just more receptive to learning stuff back at that age. And then I really got into it at age 14. Again, you're a little better at learning deep lessons and subtleties that it's harder to pick up when you get older. So no, I'm sure the frustration is there, because the older you get, the less tuned you are for picking up something completely new. You just are. I would just say, just set your expectations and take pride in the little accomplishments. In other words, there's going to be a point where you're going to be able to do something that a few months earlier you just couldn't do. You just won't be able to do it. So definitely, keep a track. Just don't go into it with a plan to some degree, and going through like a really easy sort of beginner book will give you that, right? Because it was lesson 1, now I'm up to lesson 5, right? Something like that. Make you feel like you've made some progress. And then the other thing I would recommend, because my teacher when I was 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old, was a real ball buster for this. And that was, we could never play unless he had set a metronome. He would bring his metronome, and we never played anything unless it was to the metronome, ever. And unfortunately, my parents wouldn't buy me a metronome. Too expensive. Metronomes were like $40-50. And I'm sure they were like, do we have to? And I'm sure he was like, no, you don't have to. But playing to a metronome, and the great thing is now Google has a metronome built right in. You could just go to literally google.com and on the search engine type in metronome, and they would give you a metronome. They would just play through your computer. So metronomes are free now. You can get a metronome pretty much anywhere. And playing along with that really does help with your timing rather than free-forming it. You get much, much better results over time playing to a metronome. Metronome doesn't have to be fast, but you have to be accurate. And that will go a long way in making you feel like you've made progress. Because you could start playing something at a much lower beat per minute and then see if you can raise it up 5 beats per minute. Again, measurable progress is what gives you hope. I remember one time, it's like I had never really learned solos to guitar, to tunes. Never really learned the solo, and I just said, God damn it, I'm learning the solo to Crazy Train. And it wasn't easy, but I did it. And that probably took 6 months, maybe longer, right? Had to take it in sections, and I had the tabs. And then, I really didn't have the ears. I was very often playing things wrong because I couldn't distinguish some of the rhythms. That's where the metronome comes in. Helps you really get that down. Oh, yeah, you can get a metronome on Google. Literally just go to Google and type in metronome, and they put one right there, right? Like literally right there. Yeah. So I type in metronome, you get a metronome. Right? Trying to give a slow move into it, right? Like a... Trying to mess with it, trying to play with it a little bit. When you hear a certain something, you can't put your finger on it. It's usually the timing. Yeah, that and what I would call like articulations, grace notes, bending, small bends, little grace bends. It does. It makes the riff doesn't sound so clean. It sounds like you're really playing it from the heart rather than going through and playing a bunch of notes clinically. Yeah, and there are free apps if you just want it on your phone. Though I'd probably just go to Google on my phone and play it there. I worry those apps are like data mining. It's you know. I think the Pacers, if they want to win the series, they have to close it out tonight. If they don't, I think the momentum is all with the Knicks. If you can use a metronome. Yeah, use a drummer's loop. It's better for... absolutely. A little drum machine. I think that little Valitron, I think that had a drum machine in it. And that Flamma unit I had here had a drum machine in it as well. So, if you can, yeah, going through the drum machine, absolutely. Yeah, play with Bluetooth tracks. But then, again, you don't want to get too complicated. Not quite yet. Am I eyeing a guitar for a future purchase? Not really. You know how that goes. You get kind of hot on something and say, well, maybe I'll find like an old vintage Ibanez, or maybe I want like one of those old vintage MIJ Charvels. You see those out there once in a while. Never owned one of those. And, get something like interesting. I don't know if I'd buy anything more contemporary. Probably get something sort of older. It's something to make for a very interesting video, I just have so many nice guitars now. It's not feeling the need. That new Valentin pedal looks amazing for practice tool. I know, God, and it's going to be like $90, right? Under $100. Doesn't hurt to play the same riff over and over and over again. To honestly, me sitting in front of a TV going, you know, is that the way I want it? You just sit there and noodle for hours, you know. But usually if I'm really like into practicing, I try and learn a new tune. I find that that's like the best. Because I find a different way of playing something. I find a different chord set that I'm not used to hearing. And, you know, like learning, I just learned that because I had learned it years ago and, you know, forgot about it. And then, it was in that Peewee special. You know. That really helps you because you learn things like, right, that diminished chord, right? Yeah, how's my dew point doing? I'll be opening that window, and that's a cat magnet. But my wife's been out all day, and she's home. She's probably draped in cats right now. And, let's see, how's the wind's out of the southwest. It's down to 50. We're getting there. Probably open it up. That white behemoth, that is a Harley Benton big tone right there. Problem is that it's so loud you can never play it in a live show because it's like trying to do a live show with acoustic guitars. They're too loud. .36F in Metro Denver. Yeah, we probably hit 65 today. But we're at like 90% humidity. 95% humidity because we got rain. Yeah, the humidity's dropped to 67. Still 61, but the dew point's fallen to 50. It was 65 earlier, and the dew point was like 63. 70 dew point. You can keep that, man. That's some really tropical air. The other thing you want to do, you know, just as a general thing is, and this I kind of got from, because I never really heard this before. This I sort of got from Mike Stern. You know, all the metal players I was listening to, with the exception of maybe, you know, Van Halen, and even Randy Rhoads was kind of, you know, those players were always balls to the walls all the time. It wasn't until I heard like Stevie Ray and like non-rock players that I hear dynamics, right? So, you know, guys weren't just, you know, they go, right, a little bit of, a little bit of volume change. You know, just don't play everything at the same volume. Which, as a metal player, that's all we ever did. Like playing at 11 back then, dude. I'm not even kidding. We went to 12. You're saying it's okay not to play with having the volume at 11. Yeah, just not over and over again, but sure, every once in a while. Well, Randy, I felt, was the victim of a highly compressed production. Like, even if he was hitting dynamics. He was hitting dynamics more like in D and things like that. But, you know, I felt like Ozzy's whole sound was like sort of a highly compressed. You can hear it pumping. a good one, Demont. Let me check my... Oh. Yeah, my Ovation. I tell you, I've still been a little bit with the Ovation bug. I still look at them every once in a while. I'm just biding my time until the right one comes along, and I'll probably make a move. As a practice ritual, do I ever bring the tempo up on a song and then lower it back down over time to ease the tension on the speed? No, but I will sometimes play it at a slower speed to get it down perfectly. And then flip it up to regular speed and not play it perfectly, but it's just a matter of getting it up to speed at that point. And then after you go through it, I find that if I go through something, and this is just me, but I've got to go through and play it from end. After you learn it, I have to play it from end to end about 20, 25 times. 20, 25 times before I really start to get it down. Oh, thanks, Carl, my guitar. So you want to try one of our Reapers? You know, I've been getting a lot of guitars here. Maybe we'll talk about it. But the only problem is that, you know, I'm dealing with that weekly thing with Zounds, but I could maybe bring you in on a Thursday, something like that. Like I did with Kahaya, which was a nice little guitar. That little acoustic there, I kind of like that little thing. You know, I think it was like $250 guitar. I think $300 is like the most it ever sells for. So I always say like these sell for like $300, but if you go there and you use like a coupon, then I think it was like $250 or $260, something like that. So pretty inexpensive carbon fiber. Yeah, that Monday slot though is sort of locked up by Zounds. They sort of own that, but yeah, sometimes I do more than one in a week. Like I just did with the Kahaya. It's something. Another advantage to jam while YouTube tracks and slow them down and loop parts. The great thing about jamming with YouTube tracks is that you're hearing the notes in context, right? And you're always playing in a musical situation. So you have rhythm going and you have harmony going. So now as you're going through your scales or you're trying to play your riffs over it, you're trying to improvise over it, you're getting a real feel for what's working and what's not working in context of the backing track. And that's huge, because if you're just sitting home and playing scales in the vacuum, it doesn't quite translate when you go out to jam. Right? It's really more about like learning things in context. And like I've heard from countless really, really good players, it's really chord tones and targeting chord tones and targeting like not even so much, they would call it an arpeggio, but all an arpeggio is a chord played one note at a time. You arpeggiate the chord, which means instead of playing all the notes simultaneously, you play them one at a time. But they're still chord tones. You're still playing a chord. Just not all the notes, only one note at a time. We call that an arpeggio. But if you go through arpeggios while the chords are going by, you already have a pretty good framework, and then you can just work in like some little lead-ins, right, to get where you need to go. I can't believe it's 8:58. Have a good one, speaker. It is almost 9 p.m. here. All right, dudes. We have begun our descent. Please remain with seatbelts fastened until we've come to a complete stop. Thanks so much for hanging out. You guys have a wonderful week. I don't think we saw Terry tonight, but there's probably a hockey game or basketball game he's checking out. I get it. You guys have a wonderful week. Check out Mondays. I had a lot of fun with my the guitar of the week for Monday. Lots of fun. So I think you're going to like that. It's a guitar with, let's just say, a lot of horsepower. It's a lot of horsepower to this guitar. So check that out on Monday. I don't know if I have another video coming this week. I'd have to check my schedule again. Not sure. But as always, my buddy with his teleport. Check out the teleport. I think they're in limited, still a limited number of them left. If you're check that out. And there you go. I'll see you guys all in a week. And yeah, have a wonderful week. We'll do it all again next week. No. You rock. And super extra thanks to Tony for the contributions. Very much appreciated. And there you go. All right. No, you rock. All right. I'm off. I'm going.